Hello, Saskia, devotional goddess here. Why is it so important for us to connect with our emotions? When we have the courage and create the stillness or just the wherewithal to connect with our emotions, it allows us to hold them and have them present to us, and it allows us to release. What do I mean by that? Often we feel our emotions bubbling up underneath or somewhere in our being, in our bodies. And if we're not or have not cultivated a practice of finding the grounding within to allow the safety for the emotions to arise, we're going to shove them back down and say, you're not coming out. I don't know how to handle you. There have been many times, several times, when I have taught my restorative yoga classes that students have confided in me afterwards, after the fact, of like, I can't go again. I nearly cried. And I was like, oh goodness, this is important information. This is good. They felt in a safe enough environment where their guard was let down, where the emotion had the safety to arise. But their intellect was like, nope, I'm in a public place. I haven't given you permission to come out emotion, so I'm going to shove you back down. Or they just let a little bit out and they allowed some tears to come. But there was a fear of, if I let these tears out, I don't know when it's going to stop. And I don't know what's going to happen to me. And I understand that fear. When I first did my yoga teacher training, my yoga teacher said, you may cry a river. And that gave me the permission to allow my emotions to come up in that safe, sacred space that she held. Now, I know personally in my astrological chart, there's a lot of water. And I am an emotional being. And as I've heard someone say to me before of like, listen, honey, your emotions run deep and they are valid. And some people have to go to therapy for many, many years in order to access the emotions that I can readily access, because I have so much water in my chart and there's a lot of emotions that I have access to through that water element. And, that comes for me in the tears. But I've learned through my yoga, through my meditation, through my practices, how to create steadiness within in order for that emotion to have the safety to come out. And I mentored for many years with my yoga teacher. And in subsequent years, I sought out other mentors. Now, the first mentor that I had was in the Netherlands. And because I didn't know what I was looking for, as I was in session with her, I came to understand that she was not taming her own demons. And the talents that she had, she wasn't able to be skillful in her execution or in her guidance. And our time together finished, but it was a very valuable learning for me. Then a year or so later, I met my yoga teacher. The teacher who taught the Yoga Spirit and who created Yoga Spirit Studios. The teacher training the 200-hour yoga teacher training that I now teach as well as a head teacher. And I mentored with her for many years because she walks her talk. She embodies the practices that she teaches, and she is continually growing and evolving. And that was my inspiration. She was my beacon of light who showed me what was possible and what I aspired to attain for myself and continue to. So through my mentoring with her, and now with other teachers that I also choose to mentor with, to help refine and go deeper into the areas that I need guidance with. I'm creating a stronger and a stronger foundation within. And I now know when emotions come to rise, I know how to hold the safe, sacred space for them to come up. But I initially needed someone else to be that container for me, to hold that safe, sacred space for me to fall apart and for them to hold energetically the space for me. And this is now what I do for my clients. I hold the energetic space for them to explore safely and allow them to be in their emotion. Now, there have been times that I was working with a lady for many, many years. Well, maybe 2 or 3 years. And it came to a point where it was like, you know what? I am not able to help you anymore. I advise you to seek another teacher, because the tools that I have given you are not landing in the way that they used to, and you're not growing in the ways that you are asking to, and we continue to come back to the same issues, the same problems, and they're not shifting, they're not evolving. So my role with you is complete, and I highly recommend you find somebody else. And that can sometimes happen. And that is important to recognize as a student and as a teacher. There was a friend that I was visiting years ago, and we were talking about postpartum and prenatal. And she said, goodness, I had bad postpartum depression after her first. And we discussed it a bit, and I was in the car ready to leave. And this conversation evolved. And I was like, do you have time? Let's go up into your house and find a private room, and I can support you through this. And I brought her back to that time of when her firstborn was born. And we brought about healing to that situation, because she was holding guilt and shame around that time. Guilt for her son for not fully being able to be there because of the depression that she was going through, the postpartum depression. And we brought healing. And once we had visited that place, brought healing, she had so much lightness and peace when she reflected back upon that time. It was beautiful. A year or so later, when we were having a conversation, I made reference to it. And it was really interesting. Her response was, what do you mean? You didn't help me. And I sat with that and I reflected upon it, and I was like, you know what? This is fantastic. She did the work. I was the facilitator to hold the space. And in her memory, it was all her doing. And that is the role of a mentor, of a coach, that we are here to hold sacred space and hold that environment for you to go back and heal the past so that you can move on freely into your present and freely from your present moment and plan your future without that tethering, that weighing down of guilt or shame or trauma, however it is presented. And in her memory, she did it all herself. And she did. But I guided her through the situation. But only she could go back and heal it. And that's what her memory had. And that took her forwards. And that empowerment, that strength, that resolution and peace is what also helped her moving forwards in life. She went back to school. She started a new career. All of these fractions, when we go back and heal and reclaim traumas, memories, woundings from our past, it frees us to move forwards, and it allows us more courage, more centeredness, more strength, more empowerment with which to step into a fuller blueprint of what we came in to do. I hope this was helpful. All my information is below. If what I teach resonates, if what I've shared resonates, feel free to book a session with me and let me support you in holding that sacred space so that you can go back and heal. I will offer guidance, I will offer support, and I will offer the safety of the container. And you will come to heal in whatever layer and capacity you are ready to heal. Much love and many blessings.